to Catching Up with the Coalition. Carissa was unable to join me today, so we have our special guests today joining me, which is Jason Larrier and Michelle Nicholas. So thank you guys for coming.
Thanks for having us.
Normally we start out with some announcements and things like that, but because we have you guys here as special guests, I'd love to start with you all and what you're doing here with us. So for those who don't know, the Coalition is a funded agency by the State Department of Children and Families. That is the state agency that helps support our Family Resource Center and the work we do in the community. And so we thought it would be cool to invite our partners at DCF to come here and talk a little bit about foster care, which there is a great need in our community for foster parents, for our kiddos. So Jason is the Family Resource Recruiter.
Yes.
Got it. And Michelle is the Foster Parent Ambassador. These are very big titles. We love that. So Michelle, I know that you have just a few moments with us, so I have a couple questions to learn some stuff from you. Can you just start with what got you on the journey of becoming a foster parent?
So I think that's probably my favorite question because, or the most asked question too. So I started this journey with a student of mine. I'm a local educator, and so a student of mine, parents needed some time to get back on track, and the child had significant special needs, and I was very worried of where this child was going. And I remember saying to the department who was coming to get her out of my classroom, "What are you doing with her? Where is she going? Do they know she's allergic to strawberries? Do they know this?" And they literally looked at me and said, "Would you like to take her and help us out?" And so my journey, my journey has
Should I
just
have mentioned that we should probably turn our cell phones
You
off?
probably should have mentioned that.
You know, details.
Joanne didn't give him that lesson. I only got that lesson. So that's how my journey began.
Awesome.
17 years ago.
17.
17.
Holy cow. So 17 years in the world of foster care. How many kiddos have come in and out of your home in that time?
So we are currently fostering 6 right now. So I am at 111 in 17 years.
Wow.
That have crossed my threshold, and blessed to have adopted 2.
Awesome.
So.
Congratulations. Just wondering, of that 111, like the age span that you find you typically see in your journey?
Great question. So that is something that the department allows you to kind of control. It allows you to kind of pick what boys, girls, age groups. And so my expertise is 0 to 5, and that's just where I love to stay. But when things come up and they have siblings, I tend to just like to keep siblings together. So kind of an unwritten rule that my husband and I follow is that I never foster above the age of my daughter.
Okay.
So it just allows me to be in the realm of what I've already been through and know what those kind of typical behaviors are. It's just helpful.
Yeah, and in no time she'll be 20, so
Right.
there's that, right? So 17 years, 111 kids. I can only imagine all of the experiences that you guys have walked through as a family. Clearly dedication is a part of that for you guys because you stuck with it. What has kept you in the journey?
So I think really what's kept me in is first and foremost the need in our community that I happen to see every single day in the job that I do. I also think the rewards and kind of ways to give back to the community is just something that is important to my family and I. But I think really one of my biggest drives is making a difference in the families that the department serves. And it really allows us to kind of keep families connected. And it's just, the need is just, I don't think people realize. Jason will fill you in with his amazing statistics, but it's just, it's pretty eye-opening,
Yep.
Amber, of what we need in our community. So I think that's.
Yeah, I think what's sometimes interesting, and so being in a different realm, right? And so in my previous career, working at the Breen Center and working with those families in a different capacity, and I bet you somewhere along the line we probably shared some families
Right.
along the way, realizing the need is so great because so many of our families sit at that tipping point, and any one of us at any point in time can find ourselves in the place of need. So knowing you have that safety net and someone to help you, it's important.
Right, and I really feel keeping families together has helped our dedication, because it's so hard for children and families to be split in very difficult times. But when they have each other, I think it calms families down. I think it really helps the department, and it really does help the foster mom and parents really only have to deal with one worker and not 5. And, because sometimes that can get overwhelming, the appointments.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so last question. 17 years. It's going to be hard. Your 2 best memories that you can think of.
So I think I'll kind of group one answer together, Amber, is that I think when children go home is probably one of my best memories. It doesn't often happen, but it does. And I think I could tell you the families that go home and how meaningful that is to me to see that transition. When parents do get on track, it does happen. So that memory is wonderful. And I think in general, when children's behavior stops and they settle in your home, that is one of my favorite memories. Like, that's my aha moments. Like, we got there.
Right.
They're feeling safe. They're back on track. Their families are back on track. So I think those are my biggest memories. And, with all the other ones, the first steps, all the fun stuff that you can capture and take and give biological parents so they don't miss out.
Right.
So the little social media and kind of FaceTiming really has made a difference.
Yeah.
Especially with COVID. These babies did not see their families during
Yes.
COVID, which is on top of,
Right.
being removed from them. So that was tough too. So I think my memories are really just keeping it going always, because it matters for the families out there.
That's awesome. Well, thank you, because I know you have a family to now
Yes,
go to.
yes.
So thank you for joining us and sharing that, and I'm sure Jason will add a lot to that conversation. But thank you also for what you do and for being a person in our community that helps to take care of our community. We appreciate that.
Well, thank you. This was definitely my first show, and it was very...
You're welcome to come back. We're here every month.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks. So, Jason, before we get to you, though, I'm going to segue a little bit and talk about some of the things. So we're talking about taking care of our community, and this is sort of what the coalition tries to do in some other ways. And so ways in which we do that is the programming and services that we offer to the community. And so just for those folks watching, some things that are coming up that we really want to share with you, specifically related to parenting, is starting in April, the coalition's going to be running a 12-week series called Parenting Journey in Recovery. Are you familiar with Parenting Journey at all, Jason?
Yes.
A little bit? Yeah?
A little bit.
Okay.
A little bit.
This is a really great program. It takes a parent or 2 parents together, however the family makeup is, and it walks them through the journey of what it was like for them to be parented as a child, reflecting on how then they want to be a parent to their own child. I myself was able to do this to become a facilitator. It's eye-opening even for those of us who are like, oh, my childhood was so great. And then we're like, oh, I do that thing. I didn't realize I did that thing. And this specific Parenting Journey in Recovery really delves into families who are working their way through the journey of recovery from substance use and the extra challenges that come with that, and really trying to reflect on rebuilding those relationships with their kiddos. So if you are someone or know someone, please call the number at the bottom of the screen and we will definitely get you hooked up in that program. And then the other one is active parenting of teens. I am currently an active parent of teens.
Good luck.
In fact, when I leave here, I'm going to the hockey rink for an entire weekend of a hockey tournament.
Nice.
Because that's my other job, right?
Nice.
So teens are fun and hard and smelly and wonderful and all the things. But it takes a lot of energy and it takes a lot of work. And so if this is new, if you're just entering that phase, I think you and I are kind of on our sort of exiting out phase.
Oh, no, I'm out.
You're out?
I'm out.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not. So, but if you're someone just entering that phase, Jason and I would collectively tell you, do the class. Like, take these classes. It's so helpful to have other folks that are entering that journey, parenting teenagers and going through that work. So we'll also be running that. And then 2 more. A lot of families we're finding have moms who are in this position, perhaps newly single, newly in a space of like doing the work of taking care of their families. And sometimes, I don't know for a lot of people, but for me, money was not something that I was directly taught about. And so we are partnering with a program called Women's Money Matters.
Wow.
And this program will help take our local women through how to manage their money, understand money. It's great curriculum. It's going to be offered starting in April at the end of the month. So again, call our office if that's something that you would like to get into. This is a great opportunity to join. And then my final announcement is actually community-wide. The coalition has our UNO Community Center at 157 River Street here in North Adams. Have you been
Yes,
there?
I've been there. I love that facility.
Okay,
It's awesome.
so we, some of our local community members have put together, and actually a little nod to NBCTC, Paul Moreno is helping out with this, a Remembering River Street photographic memoir of the River Street community and some of the history that goes along with that. And so March 24th from 4 to 6, that'll be on display at the UNO Center, and Paul will be there with some other folks to just share their memories of what it was like over the years. So just a cool opportunity. Some community members threw this together and wanted to share that. And so I'm kind of excited to see what happens. So if you're around, you know,
Yeah, that's awesome.
stop by. Cool.
I think
There.
I'm available that day.
All right.
Yeah.
You never know. There could be foster parents there.
Or someone who wants to be a
Or
foster
someone
parent.
who wants to be a foster. They don't even know they're a foster parent yet.
Not yet.
That
but
you haven't
once
talked
they
to you.
once they talk to me, they're gonna jump right
They're
in.
gonna jump right in. On that note, let's jump into that. So this is like a fire hose. I just give all the information
Okay.
and then we get to talk about stuff. So
Cool.
thank you for joining us. I think this is cool. I know we've been trying to work on this for like a
A
year
year
now. Trying to get you here.
Thanks for having us. This is a great opportunity for us as well.
Yeah, well, and you know, I think it's we've worked alongside of DCF now 20 years at least as an organization, because the state office of DC, you know, most people think of Department of Children and Families and they think of like the social workers who take the kids, and you know, like there isn't an understanding of all that the department does
Correct.
across the state. And one of the things that they have done for many, many years is truly invest in the community, because they know healthier communities
Yes.
mean healthier families. And ultimately, the goal is to have healthy families where we don't need social workers and children don't need to leave homes, right? Like
Correct.
that's our shared common goal for all of
Yes.
us. And so having you here, because like Michelle said, we do have a need, and while folks are getting back on their feet and putting lives back together, some of the kids have to be somewhere else, and that's just
Correct.
a reality. So we need more people to help with that. And so
Yes,
that's
we
why
do.
you're here, to
Yes.
smile big and convince all of the people in North Adams,
Yes.
Except for me.
Why not you?
My children already told you why. Remember? They were like, "What? What? No." Because you know, I do it in a different way.
Gotcha.
Right? Like this is not my space for now. And also, I promised my husband 24 years ago I would not bring my work home. That was
fair,
that was a real
fair
thing.
enough. Fair enough.
You never know though. Like
Right.
life can change.
Yes.
So who knows what the future will bring? But for now,
Yes. But I am going to keep working on you. though.
yeah. Every
That's
time
gonna
you
happen.
see me,
Yes,
that's going to be a
I am
thing.
going to weigh you down.
But let's talk about that. Like,
Okay.
what are the things? How do you communicate to the community what the need is, and what does that look like for us here?
Well, the need is currently, we always are going to have a need for foster parents, simply because even when we have a success story, we have to start the process all over again. So like, for example, Michelle she is a soldier at being a foster parent. There's no other way to describe it. She's a career foster parent. And I say that meaning that she has done it. She's been through the trenches, the wars, the triumphs, the ups and downs, the tears of joy, the tears of sadness. She's done it all. But usually in most cases, when someone gets to the point where they adopt, they usually don't want to foster anymore or adopt any more children, just simply because now they want to focus on their family, which is a great thing for us, but it's also now we have to find another person to kind of take up the
Yep.
mantle and the torch and go forward with another child who needs someone to care for them. So that's why we're always out in the community. You'll see me everywhere, talking to everyone, some people ad nauseum.
We like to have you at all the parties.
All the parties, just simply because being a foster parent is something that we really, really need. My experience as a foster parent was with a teenager, and I know a lot of people are afraid of teenagers, but that right now is our greatest need.
Yeah.
Just simply because, people have the thought process that teenagers are a little bit difficult to deal with. But I feel like it's one of those things that if you go into it with the right mindset, and you're able to, you have love in your heart, and you have patience and you're caring, you can get that accomplished. You can reach a child, you can reach a teenager, you can reach a 5-year-old. It's just a matter if you have that place in your heart to do those things.
Do you find, so we joke about this in our own family. I am not necessarily the most patient human. And so toddlers were not my jam,
Okay.
right? Like that was my husband's jam.
Okay.
He was great at toddlers.
Okay.
They were messy and demanding, right?
Correct.
And then yet as my kids have gotten older, I truly enjoy the challenge of a teenager. And it's a different messy and smelly and
Correct.
demanding.
Correct.
But still, like,
Correct.
so do you find that foster families and in general, folks that are signing up to take care of these kids find themselves in a similar place of like, this is what I'm good at, and this is an age group
Correct.
I'm good with, but this one not so much,
Correct. I feel like everyone has their niche, so to speak, and where they want to be. If you're comfortable with younger children, then you tell us. This whole process is something that you're going to tell us what you want to do. You can tell us if you want to do it part-time. You can tell us if you want to do it full-time. You can tell us if you want to do it in an emergency basis. It's really directed at the foster parents and telling us what their level of commitment is going to be. And we also ask, we ask you questions. We interview every foster parent to get to know them, to say, all right, what makes you tick so we know what children to place in your home. So if you say to us, hey, I want newborns because I love that newborn baby smell and the lotion and the bathing and the feeding and diaper changing, then that's what we're going to do. If you say, hey, I like teenagers because they can talk back to me and I can understand what they're saying, and we can do things together and I can teach them things that I know and that I'm good at, then that's what we do. It's really driven by the person who wants to be a foster parent. We want the best possible experience for everyone involved, and the only way to do that is to have the understanding of where you are. So if you say to us, hey, I really don't want a newborn, we're not going to bring you a newborn.
Be like, sorry.
Right.
We have this really small adolescent for you.
Correct. We're not going to do that. We're going to make the whole experience for you as positive as we possibly can make it.
You mentioned sort of on a person's terms a little bit in terms of full-time, part-time, and in an emergency. And so I understand full-time to sort of be like that day in and day out care until a child can go home sort of 24/7, 365, right?
Correct.
An emergency might be like, hey, can you take this kid for 2 days while mom and dad get something sorted out, or dad gets something, or mom gets something, grandma, whoever. What's part-time look like? Like, what is that sort of?
Well, part-time would be something we call respite, where you have a foster parent, this is their 25th anniversary, they're going away for a week, a weekend, or they're ill, they have surgery, and they just really aren't able to care for the child like they want to, or we need them to. So a respite foster parent will come in, take the child for that time period that we know of, whether it be a weekend, a week, 2 weeks. Sometimes that's 30 days, sometimes it's 90 days. It's very case specific driven.
Okay.
But if we know it's going to be a short term and we ask a respite foster parent to come in, they say, yes, I'll take this child for a week. They care for the child for the week, and then when the week is over, they go back home. And emergency care is pretty much the same thing, except that we are waking you up in the middle of the night anytime the offices close, whether it be weekends, a weekday, and we're saying, hey, can you please take this child for us for tonight, for the weekend, until we can get this situation kind of settled and we can have a better plan for the child moving forward. Usually emergency care is day to day, but if you say to us, hey, this kid, I like having him in my home and we would like to keep him as long as they need to, then we work that out as well.
All right. Foster care, probably more heart motivated than most jobs that people take on, right?
Correct.
If you were going to write a job description for a foster parent, what are some of the top qualities that you might look for in that person?
Well, you have to have love in your heart for children. You have to be able to maintain a safe environment for them. You have to be able to be an advocate. Advocacy is probably the most important part of it, simply because sometimes, they might be in an IEP at school. There might be some medications the child might need that they're not on with the doctor. Sometimes you may need an additional doctor just to understand what you see in the child in your home. It could be a therapy appointment. It could be, getting them into an after-school program. Like all these different things that you would do for your own child. It's the same thing. We're just asking you to be that child's parent in a temporary time period until we can stabilize their family so they can eventually return home. In the case that they can't return home for whatever reason, then we look to those foster parents for permanency, which just is another way of saying we want to find a forever home for them, so that they can be safe and live the best possible life they can.
Okay. I just had a question, and then I was like, of course, flew out of my head while I was listening to you.
I do that sometimes.
Right? Yeah. Like it's like right there. And I was
See,
like,
I'm working on you so much that you're thinking about being a foster parent now. See?
Is that what's happening?
That's what's happening.
It's like magic.
Yeah.
Folks, I should have had a warning or a disclaimer. Like, if you watch this show, you will want to be a foster parent.
Everyone
Call
watch.
Jason.
Yes.
It's probably true, though, right? Like, I think there's a lot of people who see the need and probably consider it. And I think in your experience of recruitment, what are some of the things that have changed someone's mind or actually made them go, you know what, I'm going to go from considering this to actually doing this? Like, have there been things that people it was this thing that made me say yes?
In my years of recruitment, there have been many people who I've talked to a number of times at community events that have,
You just don't leave
made,
them alone.
right. I just, I'm very, what's the word I'm looking for?
Enthusiastic.
Enthusiastic, yes. I'm very
You are
enthusiastic,
very enthusiastic
about foster care. And I also like to tell people my personal story of foster care. My family, we were foster parents for a teenager that we knew, we had a relationship with. He was on my son's team, and unfortunately it didn't work out for him at a particular foster home, and he needed a place to be. So I said, well, he's eating my food anyway. He might as well sit on he might as well
Right, he
stay
might as well
here.
just live here,
Just eat here full time.
Yep.
And that's pretty much what happened. And we called it, we made ourselves known to the department. Once we made ourselves known, we had some conversations with the department. We did our background check, we did fingerprinting. They came in, examined our home. We had to make some adjustments just for safety reasons, so that he could come. And then once we made those adjustments, he came to our home, and that was that. But his story kind of gets you because he was in a lot of foster homes. He's a great kid. He just needed a chance to be successful, and that's all we offered him. We just offered him that opportunity to be successful, and he took that opportunity and he ran with it. And I like to think that we may have had a little bit to do with it, but it was really him.
Yeah. I think it's interesting that you talk about that, the process, right? So like the background checks and the fingerprinting and, safety adjustments, right? Because when it's our home, we live the way that we choose
Correct.
to. And I know that in conversation, people are like, oh, that's so much work. But I'm like, well, but actually, if my kid was going to live with you, I would want you
Right.
to have a background check and some
Correct.
fingerprints and
Correct.
maybe put away some things that don't belong out
Correct.
in the space. So I get both sides of that. Like, it's a lot, but at the same time, think about it for your own kiddo, right? Like, if
Yes.
your own kiddo was going to go live somewhere, you would want to make sure that person was going to keep them safe and
Yes, we want to
and
make
have
sure.
that space.
Yeah.
How about your fondest memory from being a foster parent? Do you have a specific memory?
Oh, wow.
'Cause I'm looking at the time as it's starting to wind
Okay.
down. I'm thinking, let's end on this, heart-wrenching, tear,
So I want to say I had a ton of memories, just simply because Troy was an athlete and he was a wrestler, he was a lacrosse player, a football player, and he was good at all of them. My fondest memory, though, was being able to reunify him with his family. You know, and it was just the weirdest thing. We're sitting there, we're watching TV, and he says, "That's my aunt." Sorry, what?
On TV?
On TV.
Okay.
The weirdest thing, and so I happened to know some people that could connect me with his aunt, and I just started making those phone calls, and then the next thing you know, one thing led to another, and we were able to reconnect him with his family.
That's awesome.
And it was amazing to see him back, with his family, interacting with them, and having dinner and having communications and phone calls. And then after that, I would be walking in the mall and run into his family members, and they would thank me for reconnecting them. So that probably would have to go down as my fondest memory out of all the memories that I had. But it was a great experience for us.
It's pretty sweet. That's a pretty good one. Still not there though. That was close. You almost had me.
Almost
had me.
I'm gonna keep working.
So with a couple minutes that are remaining, what are the things, if someone's watching this, what are the things they need to know? How do they contact you? What's step one? How do we get them?
Step one is if you see me at a community event, stop by our booth or table. But if you don't, you can always go on to mass.gov. You can type in the search foster care, foster parents, and it will bring you to our information. Once you have the information, you can reach out to a recruiter near you. No matter where you are in the state, we have 29 state offices with a recruiter in each office. Or you can just go to the local DCF office and ask to speak to a recruiter. And they will connect you with that recruiter, and then we'll start the process that way. We'll have some conversations. We'll invite you to an informational session that we have every Monday at 5:30 p.m. It's done online, so you could be anywhere in the state to see it. And we go over the steps. We introduce you to people like Michelle Nicholas, who have been there, done this, and have a ton of experience doing it. And then from there, we will visit your home. We'll tell you what things you need to change safety-wise. We invite you to a MAP class, which is our training class for foster parents. It's 30 hours. It tells you.
I'm MAP certified.
Are you really? That's
Yeah.
awesome. So it's 30 hours, and it teaches you everything about working with the department, the kids that are going to come into your homes, the behaviors, trauma, all the things that could encompass foster care. We do a detailed interview to get to learn you better, to see what kind of kids to place in your home. We do fingerprinting to make sure that you weren't robbing banks across the country.
Yeah.
Once that's done, and then you're ready to take on some children.
Sweet. Well, we are almost there. So,
Yes.
Jason, thank you for joining us.
Hey.
Thank you for all of that. If you
You're
weren't
welcome.
able to capture all of that, you have seen our number on the TV screen. You can certainly call our office. I know how to find him. I have a Jason signal in my office that
Yes,
I
she
can
does.
throw up.
Yes, she does.
But thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.